Rest in peace, Joanne. I miss you. Hello, crafters, and happy Halloween. Absol has joined us yet again on our little adventure. Despite coming from a long line of crafters, I haven't really sat down and sewed in approximately 11 years, maybe? Am I doing that right? Am I doing the math right? Probably not. Last time I sewed on machine is when I got a Christmas gift from my grandma of baby's first sewing machine. This year for Halloween, my friends and I are all adults, except for one. Sorry, Tori. We decided to actually do Halloween this year, which for us is going to fall on the 31st through the 2nd, not the 25th through the 27th like some of you sickos. We decided to do themed days for all of our costumes, the first one being sea creatures, the second one being just sexy costumes, and the third one being pajamas. It's day 3 of Halloween, we're going to do pajamas. Instead of riling through my local thrift stores, I decided that I was going to try my hand at sewing for the first time. Now that's kind of a lie because I have done sewing in the past. I've hand sewed, I've done machine sewing, Absol has left. My grandma was really good at sewing and she had a whole room dedicated to it, which also doubled as mine and my sister's room whenever we were up there. For one of my high school dances, I did actually have a hand-sewn costume. However, it was my mom who did most of the work, and I just kind of looked over her shoulder and watched. Recently, my roommate, Tori, the same Tori as before, gifted me a sewing machine for Christmas, and I haven't broken it out of its case. It has been 9 months. So I decided for Halloween, I was going to make and sew my own Halloween costumes. I'm not going to be sewing my own pajamas. I don't want to touch that yet. But I am going to be sewing my sea creature costume and my sexy costume. I wanted to go as a nudibranch, which is a sea slug, for my sea creature costume. And for my quote-unquote sexy costume, I'm going to go as a clown. I scoured the internet for a couple of sewing patterns, and I made sure that they're not AI. How I did this was that I cross-referenced it with their Instagram accounts or made sure that they're real reviews on their Etsy shops. For the sea slug costume, I chose Snowmaiden's Snowdrop cape. I'm going to be making the one with the longer back to basically make it look like I am a sea slug. I'm going to also try and make myself a little headband with a little antenna on it, but I'm not going to put it with the cape. The reason being is because I do want to reuse every single thing that I make. I don't want it to be a one-time event item. I would like to use it for other things, and I very much think that a cape would go well somewhere else. For the clown costume, I'm going to be going with Autumn Olive's clown costume sewing pattern. There seems to be a lot of customization with this pattern. I didn't want to go for the long sleeve, long pant costume, but I did want to go for a long sleeve and short costume, if that makes any sense. I also really wanted pockets. I've never sewn pockets, I've never done pockets before, but looks like this pattern, I can actually try my hand at pockets. And it's also beginner friendly. I'm a beginner. My plan now is I'm going to be going to my local Goodwill to see if they have any old bed sheets that I can use for the clown costume. Then I'm also going to be going to our local Michael's to see what they have for their new sew shop. Rest in peace, Joanne's, I miss you. Since I don't have a lot of supplies like thread, I need to go to Michael's. All right, crafters, let's start this journey. Things did not go as planned. So it's been about a week or so since I filmed that last section. I had a pretty busy week in between there. I got the opportunity to take a American Sign Language assessment for interpreting, which I haven't done consistently for a year and a half, but I was so nervous that I basically just shut down all crafts. I had to just focus on regaining my skills and keep that up. So I did not do anything with sewing. I didn't even think about it. I barely even knit or crocheted. I was locked in. When I went to those Goodwill stores the other week, I didn't find anything. I mean, there were no bed sheets, there was no like anything that I could use for a costume. There was nothing. And I didn't just go to my local Goodwill. I went to the one down the street. I went to the bins. I went to a new random thrift store. I went to another Goodwill. I went to so many thrift stores to see if I could find something that I could repurpose and reuse, and I found nothing. Ugh. I spent way too much money at Michael's. I would like to thank the nice Michael's employee for helping me out because I was clueless about measurements. She had never sewn before, but she was like, I'm good at math, so we'll figure this out. And I was like, thank you. She also helped me pick out a couple of the fabrics too because I was lost. And their section is not as big as Joann's. Joann's, I miss you. I know I said that in the first part too. Okay. Let me show you what I got. I got this green pattern fabric for the sea slug cape. I was going after the specific nudibranch. I don't know what it's called. My friend who I'm going with is an aquarium science major. Aquarium science, that's her whole thing. She also recently graduated with me. So she probably knows the name of it. I do not, but you guys can see the picture on the screen. Then for the clown costume, I got this pink fabric, and then I got this black skull fabric. I think it'll have a nice little dynamic and it'll be super cute. The Michael's employee also suggested that I get lace fabric for the collar. So I got this, which looks super cute. I think it'll be a nice contrast with that pink. So I've already bought the patterns and I've read through both of them. And I forgot that I needed an iron, so I just went out and got an iron from Facebook Marketplace. Thank you, Facebook Marketplace. I love you. Okay, I think my plan now is I'm going to start on the clown costume first. I read through it and it seems pretty simple. It also has a video, so I think that I can pick it up via that if I'm having any trouble. And then I'm going to do the sea slug costume after that. So let's start this. Let's do it. And that's with my camera settings a little bit, and that's looks so much better. There are a couple of issues. Oh boy. So I just installed a new printer. My girlfriend got it off of Marketplace at some point. It's running low on black ink. No. So all of my patterns kind of look splotchy. I think I can still manage, but who knows. The second issue, I recognize this halfway through printing, so it's too late to stop, but it doesn't go out to the full, the pattern doesn't go out to the full corner on the left and the top. It does on the bottom and the right for some reason. So I know it's a line up the dots sort of thing, and I also can see that there are little marks for me to make perfect rectangles. I don't know how that's going to work. So I have my whole pattern here. It took forever to print out. I am out of black ink. So let's see if this is going to work. Okay. Yeah, the issue with the printer and everything definitely did pop up, and I definitely tried my best. But there's a couple of mistakes here where I like overlapped some and I didn't overlap a couple of other pages. So I'm gonna now cut it out and also charge my camera since it is dying. And then we'll go from there, basically. I don't think my camera is straight. That's so silly. Whoopsie daisy. This is day 2 of doing my Halloween costume. My break yesterday was longer than I expected, so we're going to get started on cutting out the fabric and pinning it all together today. Maybe starting sewing, I don't know. That might be a little too ambitious. Yeah. So sorry that it's curved. Whoopsie daisy. I just got done cutting out all of my pieces, and here are some of my thoughts / anxiety / worries / brain dump. I can like hear that one scene from Inception where he's like, no, no, ah! Like, that's how I feel like you guys are watching me do this, because I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm kind of winging it from like ancestral knowledge from my family and like my mom in 10th grade. So yeah, it basically sounds like the Inception sound. That's very accurate for my mother. Couple of things. I also have like, just like you from Princess and the Pauper stuck in my head. Specifically the line where she's like, first I choose a pattern from the rack and I pin the fabric down. That's me. That's me right now. For the back panels on both of the fabrics, I did go a little too close to like that white edging of the fabric. So I'm a tad worried about that, but I think that it's just going to be the seam allowance and not the actual thing. Besides, it's the back. It should be like not visible, not noticeable. Only I will know. So that's that. I definitely need to take a winter break now. Hopefully not as long as yesterday. I'll probably pin the front and the backs together, but not the front and the back together. You get what I'm saying? The front two and the back two. And then we'll go from there. This is me like 2 seconds later reading the little sheet of paper that I was supposed to test on. It does look like a 1/2 inch seam allowance was already put into the pattern, so I didn't have to do all that. But we did it anyways because I'm a good sewer. I'm not a good sewer, and I don't pay attention to instructions, apparently. That has been a lifelong thing of mine. Cue my mother, Inception, screaming at me, like she does all the time. Alright, we're back at it another day. I have my sewing machine here in my box. It is brand new. I haven't even opened it. It's the Singer Mending M1000. No idea what it means. I've been having a little trouble figuring out where to place it since I live in a pretty small house, so my space is not very large. I'm either considering putting it here on this table or back behind me with my computer to do this. My computer is set up on a moving desk, so that way I can sit and stand because I know I need a pedal for this, and also all my power cords are behind me, which would definitely be a plus. But the table that I'm resting on right now has more room for the fabric to basically be slid across, so that's what I'm going in between. It's probably going to be the back table. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unbox this, wind a bobbin, get all my things set up, and then we are going to pin my fabrics together and get started. Yeah. There's more to just winding a bobbin than winding a bobbin. I kind of forgot about that. Okay, so I only really showed like me winding the bobbin because I thought that was all that I was going to end up doing, but nope. I set it all up. Here it is in all of her glory and beauty. I wound my bobbin for the first time. I did the thing, all of that, read the instructions 50 million times because unlike previous versions of me, I'm actually reading over the instructions, which is why it took me a couple of minutes to figure it out. Wound the bobbin, got it all hooked up, got the bobbin thread up and running. We should be good to go on this part, but now I actually have to pin the fabrics together because I did not do that yesterday. Luckily for me, having my computer screen right here is actually going to help me tremendously with what I'm supposed to be doing because I can just put the instructions right there on the screen while I'm doing this and not have to go back and forth between what am I doing and this bad boy. All right, good luck to me. I've decided I'm going to start on the back first because if I mess up the back, no one will be able to see it or know it. But the front, I feel like, will be a little bit more visible. And no, I'm not going to do a little test like square or anything. I have the unbridled confidence of a white man in Congress. Leslie, no. I am just going to wing it because I kind of think I can rely on ancestral knowledge, and we're going to hope for the best. Okay? Sound good with everyone? string, I'm going to go with this pink acrylic yarn, and I'm going to do chain single crochet to basically give it a little bit more structure. I considered going with an I-cord, but I don't really know how to do I-cords that well yet, and that's a lot of time. I know I can crochet a little bit faster, even though I haven't really crocheted consistently in about like a year-ish at this point. So I'm going to go do that and then put it into the top part of the clown costume, and then we'll do the rest of it from there. I am a little bit concerned because I haven't been going fully to the edges when I have been sewing and binding off, quote unquote. Binding off is like a knitting term. That is because I'm kind of scared of my fingers getting caught when I'm going backwards. I have seen people like using a little square of fabric that will act as, they're basically like they'll sew onto it and then sew backwards, which I should have been doing. I think if there ends up being a hole, I will just probably hand sew it instead, because I kind of just don't want to go back on it with the sewing machine at that point. It's so negligent. The clown costume is officially done. It is the Monday before a Halloween weekend, so I have 4 days to complete the cape, but I'm going to be starting on it today, printing out the pattern, cutting out the fabric, and doing that whole process all over again, and we're going to see how it goes now that I figured out the fundamentals of sewing. My concerns for this are the pattern itself is supposed to be reversible, and I don't think I got enough fabric for it. And also I'm going to be freehanding the antenna. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I've, crocheted enough to understand how plushies work, hopefully. So let's get started. fabric pieces as well. I decided to watch Scream for the first time. I know, I'm 23 years old and I've never watched Scream. I think I ruined it for myself by watching Scary Movie first because I'm like predicting every beat. Like, yeah, Scary Movie is a direct parody of this movie, and I didn't know when I was watching Scary Movie. But Matthew Lillard, that's my William Afton. So I put that on while I was cutting out the pattern and cutting out the fabric pieces. I have that all finished now, and I think I'm going to take yet another break to finish up the movie, maybe work on my socks that are slowly getting to that finish point of Socktober. So, yeah, I did it. So I sewed all of the pieces individually together on this cape, the cape part and the hood part. And now I'm realizing that I might want to do a lining. I originally did not want to do a lining as I thought it would just take more time, take more supplies and everything. But now that I'm looking at the actual piece coming together, I realize that a lot of what people will be seeing when they're facing me is going to be just back of fabric, and it's not going to look very nice or pretty. So I think I'm going to head back to Michael's, and I'm going to find a nice dark green fabric, not the expensive fabric that I already have. I think that's over. I got all that stuff, but I'm going to make a lining apparently. The pattern basically calls for a lining, not really, but in the way that all of the hemmed edges are going to be, I just have to freehand it and free ball it, do that myself, instead of like being directed how to do it. And you know what? Snowmaiden knows much better than I do. I think I'm gonna just do the lining. I'm back. It is now a lot later, about 3-ish hours. I promise I did go to Michael's, and then I was sent on a side quest right afterwards by my girlfriend. So this is what I got. I checked it with the fabric and everything, and I like this one the best out of all of their green fabrics. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch Scream 2, cut out the rest of this, and then do the putting together pieces tomorrow because I've already had a day. This is too long. That was too much time. That side quest took forever. I finished everything. So now I'm just going to be going over my final thoughts about the costumes that I made and also sewing in general. Alright, for the clown costume, I did make a couple of mistakes. For the clown costume, since it's a one-size-fits-all, basically the torso is a little bit long on me. The pockets are basically down near my thighs when they should probably be more towards my hips. And I count that to being basically, I'm just short, I'm 5'0". It's kind of unavoidable. I did notice it on the sleeves and I thankfully caught it where I cut about 3 inches off, and so thankfully they go all the way out to my wrist. But if not, they would have definitely gone all the way out to my fingertips. If I were to do this again, I maybe would have shortened the torso just a tad bit, but I didn't know that since this is my very first try. I also had an issue following instructions. That's on me, not on the pattern creator themselves, okay? Because as you can tell, I do not have any of the frills around my legs or my arms. And that is because I put in the elastics before I put on the ruffles, and then I caught that. I had accidentally skipped ahead, and therefore, by the time I put on the elastics, it was already too late to put on the ruffles. And then same thing happened with the hat, where I didn't measure it enough, and I thought that I was just okay, and so I went ahead with it, and it ended up not being the dimensions that it should have been, but that is okay. I made do with what I had. Speaking of elastics, I hated them. I hated putting in these elastics. I genuinely lost it about 3 times inside one of the sleeves, and I was so mad. It just kept snapping back into the sleeve, and I had to go fish it out. And then basically what I had to do was I had to just pin it down and then sew over it and hope for the best. So my wrists and knees look a little bit, like the hem looks pretty crusty. And then one last thing, I did switch out the drawstring for just a chain crochet, because when I did the chain single crochet, it turned out to be way too thick for the drawstring hole, and so I couldn't close it all the way. For the cape, I definitely needed a lining. I didn't realize that I was going to need a lining since the pattern stated that it was optional, but the back side of the fabric looked so bleh that I had to have a lining in order to make it look better. Along with that, I also had to have a lining in order to do the hemming part of things, or else I would have just kind of had to freehand it myself, since there weren't any instructions on how to hem. Of course, that again is on me on being a beginner sewer, because I don't know how to hem very well, as we can tell. But I definitely made a big oopsie and definitely needs a lining. The little antenna headband I had so much trouble with. I know I forgot to film it. I am so sorry. But I basically made a pattern that I wanted for myself. I cut it out, and then I gave myself a seam allowance, turned it inside out, and all of that. I did all of that. They looked like Shrek ears for a good while, and then I had a lot of trouble attaching the pieces to the headband itself. I really didn't want to sew it since the headband was a thick material, but what I ended up doing was I ended up fabric gluing it to this headband, which also almost didn't work. The fabric wouldn't stay. The fabric of the headband was too thick to hold it. So what I did is I basically pinned it into place, stabbed myself a million times in order for this to stick in place. So hopefully it will stay for all of tonight, but if not, I think the hood is perfect enough. My thoughts on sewing in general is that it's pretty fun. I very much enjoyed it. I like being able to make my own clothes, and I definitely like seeing things come together. That's why I like knitting and crocheting wearables, because I like to see that I have something in my hands that I am making, versus an amigurumi where it's not very useful to me once it's done, and because of all the little parts, I can't really see it coming together until you sew all the pieces together. That is super annoying to me. I may have relied on the ancestral knowledge a little too much, but it kind of worked out in the end regardless. I definitely needed to follow the instructions a little bit better, and that's on me. That's on me. But I think I'm going to be sewing a lot more. Well, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed this video and enjoyed watching me struggle with sewing for the first time. I am now going to have a very happy Halloween, as today is now October 31st. And I'm going to go out with my friends and we're going to do a Halloween weekend, and it's going to be so much fun. I hope everyone else had a great Halloween weekend, and try new things. Try new things. Hopefully I'm going to do more crafts in the future. I'm already planning on which ones I want to try to pick up and making more videos like this, but for now I'm probably going to do more of my rants on media and whatnot. Well, happy Halloween and have a very spooky time!